Welcome to Chronic Combat Conversations, a live look at our best bets, picks, and predictions for every UFC event. With your hosts, TB Scouting MMA and
The Guru, back again for UFC 286 from the O2 Arena in London. Your welterweight champion, Leon Edwards, defending his belt against the Nigerian Nightmare, former champion Kamaru Usman. Absolutely incredible rematch. Has it 6 months like that? And we're back. I can't believe it. And Gaethje finally returns to defend his top-tier status here against the surging lightweight Rafael Fiziev, however you want to pronounce it. Works for me because the dude's absolutely electric. But before we can get into this ridiculous card, we've got a very special guest in the house. Back again from the Magic and Andrew betting show, MMA betting show, obviously. Come on, guys. You're following him. You're listening to him on Twitter. Bets and Picks MMA. Andrew Gombas. Dude, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you guys. I'm looking forward to breaking this card down. Obviously, every time it's a pay-per-view, you get a little bit more excited. So hopefully we're able to find some good spots and make some money.
Hell yeah.
We need it, man. We need it. We didn't do fantastic last week. You know, the dogs were barking. We called in the heavy artillery. We called in reinforcements this week, Andrew.
Yeah, man. Last week was not good for me either. So I'm looking forward to bouncing back in a big way.
Hell yeah. And listen, before we get into this, you guys already know, you got to make sure if you're somehow following us and not following Andrew Gombas, then go fix that real quick. But make sure you hit a little like on our video here. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. It means a lot. We just love the game and love learning from what I would say is the top gambler in the MMA game right now, Andrew Gombas.
One of the dudes just really, out here cashing tickets consistently, making money, beating closing line value, just seeing the sharp sides of things. And you've been in the game a while, right? Like this type of shit didn't happen overnight.
Yeah, I have a funny. I'll spare everyone without all the crazy details. But yeah, I started betting on fights when I was before I was old enough to have a credit card. I would give my dad cash to upload $50 to one of the betting sites. Wow. And when I was in college, I was like, I think I could do this seriously. And I just turned 26, and yeah, I've been doing this seriously ever since I was 20. So it's been a fun journey, but it's great seeing how much progress the community has made since when I was first starting out when I was in college. I started my bet MMA when I was like I said, I was 20 years old, and it was January 2018, something like that. And That was back in those days. It was people were using 5 dimes a lot. And for example, if you wanted to bet a Bellator card, you couldn't do it until a couple hours before the fights. And now there's all these odds for all these promotions out. So it's good to see the progress over the years of the MMA betting community. Obviously have a lot of people in it now that are all doing a lot of good shows like yours, a lot of just solid dudes in the space. So it's been fun to see the progression over the last 6 years.
It's so true. MMA has just absolutely jumped into the forefront of multimedia, and I really think the ESPN deal had a major to do with that. But it got to be guys like Gombas too, showing hey man, you can make money betting on these fights. You should be watching. You should be betting. Let's go, and then takes off. So
that's it, man.
Let's get into this shit, right? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, holy shit. We've done enough time on the intro because
hell yeah.
Here we go. This is why we start at the top here because man, we got a fucking banger. We got Leon
bangers
Edwards.
And mash, or just a banger?
Probably bangers and mash, man.
There
at least bangers and smash.
Oh,
yeah, pretty bad. But anyways, listen, man, Leon Edwards. You just watch it back. As Guru posted the other day, man, that's got to be one of the greatest comebacks in sport history, hands down. And just man, and even in the first round, Leon starts off pretty hot, man. I know it was kind of close. Usman was kind of winning the first couple minutes, but to get a back take body triangle on a wrestler of the caliber of Usman, the first landed takedown against Usman in his career.
Ask TB. Was I? What was my face? Was I shitting my pants?
Pants.
I was shitting my pants. I thought it was all over then and there.
But then by round 5,
I'm dramatic. But I'm also dramatic, everybody.
But then by round 5, Guru's washing his slide
stop.
for the bong in the bathroom.
Cleaning the bong slide right? Because I'm like, the fight's over. It's 4 minutes. They've been standing there. They're looking at each other. I'm good. About to cash. It's over. I'm counting the money. I'm getting ready to celebrate. Going to clean this line, have a nice little rip to celebrate. Oh, he's hurt. What happened? And I run out of the bathroom, and he's asleep.
Like, he's knocked out. Guru's like, oh, what, Leon? I'm like, no. So it's classic. I feel like he never actually sees like the biggest finishes live. He's so ADHD. It's crazy.
It's so bad.
But anyways, ultimately, I mean, when it comes back down to it, I mean, I think Usman hungrier than ever, kind of in this comeback spot. Edwards could be facing a lot of pressure fighting at home. And I think, you know, without either guy having to deal with kind of the cardio issues that they both faced in that matchup, because I mean, Edwards from round 2 through 4.5 there, I mean, it was real sketchy, and his corner's like legit screaming at him to wake up, Leon, come on. So I think at the end of the day, though, you know, Usman is just going to take the safest path possible here. And as long as his body holds up and you know, he's able to execute his game plan. I mean, they stood them up in round 5 to get to that separation, to get to that head kick knockout. I mean, if Usman's able to land a little bit more activity late, maybe that stand-up never happens. Maybe,
or even a different ref.
Yeah, because Edwards doesn't get up on his own merit there. I mean, he keeps Usman from landing heavy damage, so I got to give him credit. But at the same time, I just think if you give both guys their gas tank here, I think Guru's got the right prop for me, so I'll let him take it. But I can't recommend parlaying Usman, and I also can't recommend playing the Edwards money line. So I'm gonna pick Usman. He's gonna be my circle, my official pick, but I think Guru, why don't you give me the spicy prop we were just talking about?
I think, like you were saying, I think it's tough to take Edwards here at only, you know, plus, I guess he's plus 205 there, plus 195, especially when, you know, you had him last time at better odds, you know, a wider line. I think those types of things make the shot more interesting. There's nothing really. Do you expect Leon Edwards to body triangle, hold him down for most of the fight? Do you expect him to actually get the win that way? You know, I don't necessarily think he does. So I think the fight kind of plays out more like those rounds 2 through 4, where, you know, Usman's kind of just outworking him, and you know, it's just really tough. I think if you're betting on Leon Edwards, you're expecting that Kamaru Usman is damaged goods. To me, like, I don't know how. Maybe your boy Magic's got the secret sauce to understanding that. But like, I really, like, if you're watching that fight, like their second fight play out, like, I don't know how you come into that more confident on Leon here and taking worse of a line at that dog shot. Like TB said, I think it's a lot of pressure for Leon, and maybe it is a lot of pressure for Kamaru as well with his legacy on the line. But I just feel like, with all those title defenses, like, I just feel like he's kind of built for the moment. And it was kind of my feelings with the John Jones fight as well. Like, just dudes are just kind of built for the moment. I like Kamaru Usman round 4-5 decision. What I had played last time, I'm gonna play it again. Minus 125. If Kamaru finds a finish somehow, I think it's late. Otherwise, I think it's a decision. And, you know, even just betting the fight goes the distance is juiced. I mean, minus 155 isn't that bad, but it's that bad. I don't know. I don't love it, but I don't hate it either. But without further ado, we need to get to our special guest, Mr. Gombas, please.
Yeah, it's such an interesting fight because I feel like the second fight about a year ago, a little bit less than that, Usman looked like a minus 300, minus 400 favorite. And so you could look at it like, okay, he looked like a big favorite last time. Edwards landed a miracle head kick. The line's cheaper this time, like, bet Usman. And it's like, well, no, because every fight's different. And so there's a lot of factors going into this fight that weren't there last time. Like, a lot of them you guys touched on. But Usman's 36 years old. He's reportedly has a hand injury coming to this fight. He's coming, like, and a lot of people also don't realize how bad that knockout was. Like, that was one of the worst knockouts I've ever seen. So he's coming off being brutally knocked out in a fight. That being said, I do think I did see what other people saw. He's the better minute winner. He has wrestling upside. He was on his way to winning a clear decision in that fight. So I'm picking Usman to win, but it's not with a ton of confidence. I would not be betting this fight on either side. I think a lot of it could be chalked up to really what version of Usman we're getting here. It's like, is he shot? If so, how much? Is he damaged goods, like you put it? So I think Usman's going to win, but I'm very curious to see what he looks like in there because, I mean, maybe if you could get a read on how he looks early, maybe it makes for a live betting opportunity. But yeah, it's just hard to know without knowing with that kind of stuff. And even what you said too about like, oh, is it home field advantage or is it home field disadvantage? It's really hard to like get into people's heads. Like some people handle that stuff differently. So we really have to just go off of what we've seen. And for my pick, I've seen that Usman is the better minute winner. So I'm picking him to win.
I love the way you said that. I agree completely. Certainly one of those really sketchy, interesting fights, and it's why it has to happen. And I love the way that you said that too, because we didn't touch on that enough. I mean, that knockout was, I mean, he's gurgling, he's dead, like his eyes are dead pinned at the lights. Like, I mean, it was absolutely vicious.
Like Jessica I versus Shevchenko.
No, worse. Well, I think it was worse. I think it was worse. I mean, Jessica I was stiff as a board, but
I mean, she was out for like 4 or 5 minutes, is why I was saying that. But like, I mean, similarly, I think
maybe it wasn't worse. What do you think, Gombas? Which one was worse?
Really hard. I mean, like, I would say the Usman one probably if like I had to pick. It's like very close though.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just thinking that maybe it's unfair. Like it kind of sets it unfair, but like I'm thinking just the power from Leon's kick is just more.
Yeah.
Like it's just the force, the sheer force. It's like that's fucked.
Yeah, and 4-5 decision or Leon by KO are the two plays in my opinion. Yeah, if you want to do Leon finish only,
I was just about to say, do you like any shot like that, Andrew? Like a Leon finish only type situation?
I think what you said actually is not a bad way to target it. You said Usman 4-5 decision was plus 125.
I wish minus 125.
Minus 125. Yeah, if it was plus 125, it
really
I mean,
minus 125 though, like
not bad. Not bad.
$1 cheaper than the money line. I don't know. Usman, it's been a weird transition. No, that's not even the word I'm looking for. What I'm trying to say is he's improved his striking a lot over his career. But it's funny because he does some things really well. Like he has a great jab, but when he like goes to throw hooks, he kind of swings like a wild man. So I've underestimated his finishing. I mean, I bet Usman by decision the second Masvidal fight, and he almost knocked him dead.
Yeah, he almost killed him.
I was at that fight actually. It was crazy. It was in Florida, and so everyone was rooting for Masvidal.
That's awesome. I had bet the over 2.5 on the Gilbert Burns fight, and he fucking did it in like within whatever. I think it was the end of that third round, the beginning of that third round.
Yeah, I remember it well. 2 years ago.
All right. Well, we got a lot of fights on this card. I think we broke this one down to its fullest extent. And man, I mean, we got another fucking banger here in the lightweight co-main event.
Are we holding the match?
Oh, yeah, we're holding it this time. We got Rafael Adaman-Fiziev versus Justin Gaethje.
The highlight.
The highlight. Okay, no TB nicknames necessary. We got Attaboy or Adaman, Fiziev. Yeah, so there we go. I mean, listen, Fiziev, I think we've all seen, you know, I mean, the dude has a tough time holding an extremely high pace over extended periods. He's great at managing his distance, picking his shots, landing when he wants to, skirting away. I mean, but at the end of the day, I mean, you look at the pure stats. I mean, Gaethje is throwing more, he's landing more, but his opponents have just been at such an absurd, ludicrous 18 strikes per minute at distance pace against Justin Gaethje. And when he's not facing that, he's facing the wrestling and grappling of guys like Khabib and Charles Oliveira. So ultimately, when it comes down to it, I mean, if you gave me Fiziev at his opener on Bovada at
minus 115,
minus 115, minus 110, I was like, oh fuck. But I never got that line. I used DraftKings, I used FanDuel. You know,
you're illegal. So you're illegal. Eagle.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, listen, if this was a 5-round fight and I'm expecting Fiziev to not, you know what, his one career loss. Oh, that's interesting. Magomed Mustafayev spinning, you know, kick knockout. Okay. He gets knocked out twice in that fight, though. It wasn't, you know, maybe the UFC debut jitters facing an athletic, explosive guy like that. But, you know, I've seen his chin get tested. Or is this like the Islam Makhachev thing, you know, where like, oh, it happened once. It's just not going to happen again. But we have seen it. So you give me Gaethje now at plus 190. You give me like Gaethje knockout numbers. And now I'm starting to get like at least a little curious about it, you know, like I think there's at least some value inherently on that line, unless Justin Gaethje's washed and is getting finished early. I mean, otherwise, I understand if you're on Fiziev by like decision. Maybe he lands the bigger shots. Maybe he's fleeter of foot, 4 years younger at this point. He's got a slight reach advantage, but Gaethje's going to be the taller guy. I'm not expecting him to wrestle. I'm not a fucking idiot. I mean, like,
I don't want to hear that.
I don't want
to hear it.
Yeah, I don't want to put that out in the air. I mean, I really haven't
Please
seen
don't.
him
I don't want to hear it.
But 0.15 takedowns attempted per 15 minutes.
Yeah,
you can't expect it to happen.
0.15 attempted. That's a tenth of a takedown attempted per fight. It's not happening. And if anybody's betting on it, oh, it's even on the feet, he just needs to wrestle. Stop it. Don't do it. It's not part of this fight. So that's one of the reasons, it's something that we just talked about right off air. And it's one of the reasons why I'm like kind of just maybe staying away from this fight in general, as much as it rips my heart out of my chest to say. I kind of, maybe it's because I made money the last time. We bet Justin Gaethje, Michael Chandler. We bet that fight to start round 3. We bet that fight goes the distance. We cashed both tickets. I bet Justin Gaethje by decision, Justin Gaethje by unanimous decision. I mean, it was a great night for that. And part of me really wants to get there. I really want to, but part of the reason why I felt like the Chandler fight got there was because some of the breaks in the grappling department. And I don't know that these guys are taking any breaks. I don't know that Gaethje's smart enough to stand there and be patient at all. And if Fiziev is feeling himself, I don't know that he will be patient. So, again, part of me really wanted to handicap this fight to start round 3 at even money, and fight to go the distance at plus money, and then maybe with that type of fade the narrative mindset, like maybe not the full fade the narrative of the dog winning, but maybe Fiziev wins the decision. But now I'm just like, again, after really thinking about the no breaks, the no chance of the grappling, I'm just kind of away from the fight in general. I'm maybe somebody like Andrew can. I look to Andrew, and I honestly wanted to shout out somebody like Dan Tom, who's end of the week articles I go to read, and when I have all my thoughts in space, somebody honestly smarter than me can just spell it out with a little clarity, and I'm like, yes, that's what I was trying to say. Yes, that's what I'm looking at, and that's what I like. So maybe Andrew can provide at least me with some of that insight. I'm sure he's going to give you guys something good too.
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny seeing the takedown attempt. Like, I don't really look at stats too much, but I'm like just looking at them as they're on the screen right now. And the fact that Fiziev attempts more takedowns over 15 minutes than Gaethje is just so funny, because Fiziev is like a Muay Thai guy and Gaethje was a former Division I college wrestler, which is just funny. I think Fiziev is going to win here. I think he's better technically. He's bigger, which is another thing I haven't really seen people mentioning. Like, I honestly think with the right cut, Gaethje could probably make 145. He's a small 155er. Fiziev's going to probably be 10, 15 pounds bigger than him in there. Gaethje's taken way more damage over the years. Fiziev hasn't really had those bad losses. Like, I say bad, I don't mean bad losses like they look bad.
Wars.
Wars, yes, exactly. Gaethje, 4 years older, getting up there at 34. I think this is a tough stylistic matchup for him. I think Fiziev's going to either knock him out or win a clear decision.
Yeah.
So you just kind of like the money line in general, like don't get too cute, just play a winner.
Yeah, I very rarely am playing props in general, but in this case, yeah, I think Fiziev, I think he's going to be the better minute winner. I think he's more finishing upside, so I think money line is probably the way to go.
Yeah. Gaethje will probably be swinging super wild.
That makes sense.
If I had to guess. So
it's funny because even if he's not swinging super wild, it's like, okay, is he gonna out kickbox Fiziev in like a technical kickboxing match?
No,
right. It seems like
without any sort of wrestling threat or cage press. No, nothing. No.
The technical boxers like Poirier, Alvarez, even like Tony Ferguson, who has some volume and some reach, were guys that were able to put the pace and actually land in volume on them. So maybe I got to start getting off that Gaethje idea. It does make sense in general that way. And I think Gaethje's only path is finding a finish. And I think it would have to be if Fiziev slows down. But I can't count on that. What, 3-round fight, right?
Yeah. Mushroom's calling for the body shot in round 2 by Fiziev.
I could see a body shot finish for sure. Gaethje just kind of seems like he doesn't like getting hit to the body.
Interesting.
No.
Interesting.
He doesn't
And
like getting
yeah,
hit
he
at
doesn't
all.
quite have that physique. Yeah, he definitely looks like a sloppy 155.
Jesus. He's just
Says the fat turd over here.
But I just feel like he's one of those guys that's just like doesn't have those like either Adonis genes or those Flintstone vitamins. I don't know what his deal is. He's just not cut like that.
I respect
it. But I love those stats too. I mean, so Fiziev is let's just look. So Fiziev has went for he's landed 2 takedowns, one versus DeCasey and one versus Alex White. So that makes him that puts him as more takedowns landed than Justin Gaethje.
That's terrible.
That's really poor. That's
all
really
right.
Poor.
Well, here we go.
Speaking
guys.
of poor, this fight is just like weird.
Yeah. Welterweight featured bout. Gunnar Nelson versus Brian Bam Bam Barberena. What's Gunnar's nickname? Has he got a good one?
Gunny. Come on.
Gunny. I mean, like that's not great.
That's Gunny.
All right. Gunny.
You don't like.
Okay, yeah. Goonie. Goonie. So all right. Well, here's the moral of the story. I think Gunnar Nelson, he's got to go. It's body lock takedown after body lock takedown. And if he's trying to play this fight at distance, you're not gonna have a good time. He really just does his best to stay out of danger when at distance. And if he's not able to land the takedowns on Barberena here, it could get really ugly really fast. Legit. And there's no way I could ever recommend anybody playing Gunnar Nelson's money line here. And quite frankly, that money line is baked into just about all of his props, and it just feels irresponsible. I just don't know if I fully come around on the Brian Barberena side because I need him to do some real damage to Goonie. But Bam Bam, you didn't knock out Jason Witt. That was extremely concerning. That was extremely concerning. I know you came off the layoff. Are you in a better place now? I mean, Goonie by submission is plus 100. It was minus money against Sato. And Barberena has shown, I mean, I think Dos Anjos focused a little bit too much on the arm triangle in round 1, especially in bad positioning against the fence. I think he could have gotten something done.
I also even think that Sato's a better defensive grappler than Barberena. Like, I mean, that's even kind of crazy to say, but
no, but like, I don't know. He got choked out by Miguel Baeza. Come on.
But dude, that's like, but Miguel Baeza is like a club and sub kind of like that. I mean, he's vicious type dude. He's like a killer be killed fighter. Barberena is a volume boxer, need to knock you out, but doesn't have knockout power kind of guy. Like, it's not good. He's like all bark and no bite, all pace and no pressure. If that makes any sense. Like, he's not really gonna hurt Gunnar. And even though Gunnar, as if we look back at those stats, even though Gunnar has, he's getting out the pace, outpaced crazy at distance. His pace is so low. But if you look at the distance landed to distance absorbed, he's still somehow outlanding his opponents, even though they're out throwing him by like 4 strikes. So he's fairly defensively sound. So I just don't know that Barberena. I always think Barberena is like 40 million years old. He's only 33. He's just one of those guys, man. 54% takedown defense. I just think Gunnar's going to keep going for him, or at least try to control him in the clinch. And there's really nothing that I think that Barberena is going to be able to do about that. Gunnar Nelson by submission plus 120 on FanDuel. I kind of like a couch cushion, grandma's couch cushion, digging in there, throwing some spare change on that. Because I think like Andrew said, to kind of kick off the card, like this is one of those chalky favorites that should win, but why the fuck would you do that to yourself? That's my thought. So Andrew, what do you got?
Yeah, I really think Gunnar should just completely dumpster him in the grappling here. Barberena, bad wrestling, bad grappling. I mean, it's funny. We were saying this on our podcast. Magic was kind of like, does Brian Barberena even train? And I was like, he probably just like trains strike. Like, I'm not even trying to be funny. Like, he probably like just trains striking because he just really brawls in his fights. Like, Gunnar didn't submit Sato, which was kind of crazy, but he still looked like a huge favorite in that fight. I think he's gonna look like a huge favorite here. I think he does find a submission this time.
Yeah, I think Sato. He was training with Gilbert Burns. He was out of that camp, and I think he legitimately was just drilling. All right, we're gonna fight the hands. We're gonna stop the rear naked choke, and that's all Gunny was really going for that whole fight. And first fight jitters get him back. He was in the 0-2 last time, so I don't think it's going to be too pressure filled for him coming back in this moment. And RDA fight showed me all I needed to see.
And I'm about to say, like, Brian, like, in terms of all you need to see, not only is that's how he fights, like, just in terms of where he's at in his career right now.
Yeah.
Like, what is he doing? He's taking like these high profile fights. What
Short
is the
notice.
A side? What is the A side? No, he's the B side. He's coming in and he's letting big favorites win. He's had 2 fights in 4 months. He's cashing checks.
Ooh.
So yeah, Gunnar Nelson should get it done. Maybe he does become one of the safer parlay spots. That's an interesting thought.
I know. Just I hate minus 360. It really doesn't give you as much value as you'd like.
Listen, man, we all know that you got low T, but
yeah,
we got to get you those Flintstone vitamins and fix you up.
All right. Well, hey, talk about getting fixed up.
Sheesh, yeah, she got fixed up.
Yeah, well,
hopefully anyway.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, I'm hoping. Listen, Casey O'Neill versus Jennifer Maia in this fight, and you know, Casey O'Neill coming off the ACL surgery.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the biggest question mark for me in this matchup. Before, you know, I'd say I got like a reasonable spot overall. But I mean, listen, King, Casey O'Neill, Jennifer, I'm too good for a nickname, Maya. Listen, I think O'Neill here just has such a size advantage with the reach and just overall athleticism at this stage. I think Maya's takedown defense has just shown to be lackluster, and her opponents that commit to it, they seem to do really well. I think O'Neill is well versed enough in the grappling to be able to stop the submission attempts. I think the Procopio fight showed she can get in there with a black belt, make things happen here. I mean, Shevchenko, you got the job done. And Modafferi, I don't know how that ended up being a split decision. Really didn't make
one of the
much
judges.
sense,
he had to smoke a crack pipe in between. It was no big deal. He just had to smoke a crack pipe in between rounds. He just missed it.
In the middle of a round. In the middle of a round.
In the middle.
He had to get up, walk away real quick. But yes, I mean, listen, the win against Marina Moroz, I think very solid for Maya. A bit undervalued in that spot, but Moroz isn't necessarily like a physical specimen. I think she's just a solid all-around fighter, and I think King Casey coming out of a top-notch gym here that's going to emphasize the best aspects of her game plan. Yeah. If Nixick isn't telling her to go for takedowns here, as long as that knee holds up, I think we're good. And minus 170, you know, that right there is almost good enough to play by itself. I ended up throwing it in a parlay so I could risk a little less units to win a little more. You know, so follow me at your own risk, but Casey O'Neill will be the first leg of a parlay for me. Go ahead, Guru.
Yeah, great. I mean, I believe I had sent you that parlay, but that's cool. That's cool. No worries. But yeah, I obviously like that parlay too. Is a little similar confidence level favorites and getting it done. I do like Casey O'Neill to get it done. Eric Nixick, our guy, former guest on the show, wonderful gentleman, very smart, educated, well-spoken individual. I obviously, you know, probably coach of the year last year, right? I mean, just killing it in terms of what he's doing over there in Extreme Couture. And Casey O'Neill is one of his gems, one of his big prospects. That's the dog right there. So I think that this is a good fight to give her back because you know, Jennifer Maia, as you see on those stats, isn't going to be diving for her knees or anything. So if Casey doesn't feel like grappling, well, she doesn't have to. You get a striker at distance that doesn't really have any power. She's just going to be throwing volume. So it's kind of like it's just a higher stakes spar for Casey O'Neill, which she should be doing plenty of. She should be able to, you know, pick her shots and do what the fuck she wants to do with the fight. I don't necessarily expect her to get a finish because Jennifer Maia is tough. So, I mean, the fact that you can still get Casey O'Neill by decision at plus money, I kind of like that. Plus 125 type thought. Mr. Gombas, what do you got for us, bud?
This is an interesting one. I've been pretty anti Casey O'Neill since she got to the UFC. I will say her top game is pretty good, it seems like, but I think she's an okay striker. She hasn't fought good competition. I mean, if you look at the competition difference between the two of them, like it's night and day. Maya's fought the way better competition. I give Maya an advantage striking, not a huge one, but she's the better striker.
Wait, are you sure they fought that? You know, because they've both fought a Shevchenko. Like I don't know.
Yeah, no, one fought a blood Shevchenko and one fought an adopted one.
Oh God!
Damn. Sheesh.
Yeah, but in all seriousness, this is a hard fight to call for me. I would lean towards the Maya side, but there are some concerns on the Maya side as well. You guys mentioned her takedown defense isn't amazing. I think it's okay. I think it's decent, and she is 34. Neither, I don't think, has a ton of finishing upside. I guess if Casey O'Neill completely dumpsters her on the ground, it could happen, but that would surprise me. So it's a tough fight to call. I'm going to slightly lean towards Maya. I think the experience, I think the better striker gets it done.
Yeah, and she showed in her last fight versus Marina Moroz that she's still like down to clown, man. Like she's still trying to like grit these fights out and win. She just kind of has a limited skill set.
Dude, it's so funny. It's so funny because for whatever reason, I have like a really good read on Jennifer Maia fights. Like I know when to bet on her and when to bet against her. I've got like her last like 3 or 4 right.
Well, we like that. Listen, yeah, we do like that. You know, her last couple wins, right? The sub win versus Joanne Wood probably being the best one.
Yeah.
I mean, other than the Moroz win, the Moroz win was nice because she was surging and she's got a lot of clout right now. But you know, beating Jessica Ai doesn't mean much, and unfortunately, you know, losing to very lengthy strikers in Manon Fiorot and Caitlin Chikagian, and then the former champ, Jesus, Valentina Shevchenko. You know, those are totally excusable losses. So I think to your point, Andrew, this is probably the first fight where Jennifer Maia is really going to fight somebody that's like maybe more similar to her level of competition too. Like really see where both of these fighters are at in their career. I think it's a great test for Casey O'Neill at this stage. Are you saying something, TB? Because you are muted as fuck.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things is that the type of people that have been able to get into volume wars with Maya and survive it are obviously like some of the highest level strikers. But you've seen the opponents that actually commit to a grappling game plan are able to have some success. Like Jessica Ai, she almost won that fight, Jessica Ai. If it wasn't for a head clash that caused like a gaping wound on her forehead.
Her Jessica Third Eye.
Yeah, Jessica Third Eye. I mean, she just about won that fight. I mean, so I think, you know, just facing someone, I mean, Marina Moroz shot 0 takedowns, even though she's a well-rounded fighter. I think someone that's going to come in with that dedicated game plan
I mean, not
is
for
at
nothing,
least going to dig into the volume.
Jessica Ai should have kind of won that fight. I mean, look at it. She outstruck her by 10 strikes and out-controlled her. I mean, you'd have to, you know, that doesn't mean everything. Optics, you know, you got to watch the damn fight. But yeah, the head clash is definitely a big deal.
I gotta say, people in the chat, Roxanne Modafferi is like impossible to finish, quite frankly. So you got to give her a little, like, all right, like you can't rip on her too hard. I mean, who's really finished Roxanne? I mean, and also she actually landed a couple takedowns on Roxy. Not that she really got control out of it, but that's also really difficult.
I just think that she's kind of, I don't want to say overachieved in the UFC, but she's walked into the UFC and had 3 out of 4 finishes. And really, realistically, on her regional career, she had 3 out of 4 decisions. So I almost kind of feel like with a tough opponent in Maya, who's like, I believe, probably at least, you know, isn't she a black belt of her own? Yeah, she's a BJJ black belt on her own accord. Not to mention tough as nails type chick. So yeah, I kind of like the fight to go the distance.
Yeah, it's funny. You mentioned the Modafferi thing. I was giving people on my podcast, I took not Casey O'Neill inside the distance at plus 100, and I was giving a bunch of people who were commenting on the show O'Neill inside distance plus 100, and I just cleaned up.
That is sick. But you see, you're a guy that gets it. That's the thing, and you have to pay attention. It's all based on the specific matchup and what your opponent brings to the table. And there's a certain type of spot we've been looking for recently, and it's coming up on the card where I think we've kind of run into a profitable idea here. So, but let's get this train moving along. I think we've spent plenty of time on King Casey and Jennifer, and oh man, we got Marvin the Meatball Vittori versus Roman the Caucasian Dolidze. Or is it the Italian Stallion?
He's the
American, the Italian Dream.
Yeah, what did you just say?
The Italian Stallion or Marvin the Meatball. I like that too.
He's the
Marvin
Italian
the Meathead.
He's the Italian Dream.
Okay, so Marvin the Meathead Vittori versus Roman the Caucasian Dolidze, and that's his actual nickname, by the way.
Yeah, that is true.
He's from the Caucasus.
The Caucasus.
Wild. Yeah, dog. But it's. I mean, okay, so.
Okay, so does Dolidze do it again? Does he do it again? Is he getting another finish? Is he going to do it again as a dog?
I mean, if you're gonna keep on giving me plus 200 something odds on Roman Dolidze, I'm gonna keep on fucking taking it. It's just Marvin Vettori does nothing. Okay, Roman's not getting finished by anybody, like at least at this, especially not Marvin Vettori.
I mean, other than Cheyenne Velismus, right?
Oh, geez, yeah, God.
Jeez.
But yeah, so Marvin Vettori, I don't see him having any finish equity in this fight. So I think if you're going to play him, I mean, you take him by decision. If you think he's just going to win the volume battle, it's clear on the stats, like the guy wins volume. But in the similar type of ratio, Roman lands like at a 2-1 on his opponent, where Vettori lands at like a 1.6-1 on his opponents from distance. Roman Dolidze's distance defense is just as good as Vettori's. His accuracy is a little better. But, okay, one guy faced 50 minutes of Israel Adesanya and 15 minutes of Robert Whittaker. So
true.
Grains of salt need to be added to this dish before tasting. So Roman Dolidze, I just think he's still the only guy with finishing equity in this fight. And he's shown to do it in so many different ways. His scrambling is just unique for the division. I mean, I saw a bunch of people laughing at like his armbar transitions online, but like that's a guy that used to like legitimately grapple at heavyweight, a guy that was fighting at light heavyweight, pulling off armbar transitions. Like, I know it's slow and it's not as like clean as like Demetrius Johnson or whatever, but I mean, it's impressive for a guy to have hips like that and be able to scramble from bottom. So I don't think Vettori even wants to wrestle in this spot, quite frankly. And even clinching could be really dangerous with the knees that Dolidze throws. So if Vettori's just going to sit on the side and try to win a decision, Dolidze should be landing the bigger strikes and have the more threatening head kicks and just overall menacing approach in the octagon. I mean, it could be narrative as fuck. I could just be a little saucy off of the Dolidze juice. But
Jesus Christ, what are you, Cheyenne Velismus?
But yeah, so give me Dolidze. I have to take him by finish. Fuck. Yeah, I'm gonna pass this off. It's getting real spicy.
Yeah, geez, I bet you would take him by finish, you dirty dog. Yeah, listen, Marvin Vettori, I feel like it's kind of a crazy thing to say with Marvin since he just loves to crotch sniff and wrestle fuck. But like, I think his best path to victory is just kind of staying calm and keeping it on the feet and just kind of like kickboxing with him, because I'm concerned the more that he wrestles and tries to maintain top control that Roman could do some crazy type shit. And I picked against Roman against Jack Hermanson, and it was looking fine until it wasn't. And like TB says, at plus 220 odds, it's just like, damn, I go to plus 230. Like, you got to take a little bit of a closer look. And when I do take a closer look, I mean, Roman Dolidze by submission at plus 750, like, that's like a little disrespectful. And I also like, and I really do think that this is just inevitably the play. So I'll be happy to get my money back. You play Roman Dolidze finish only. Marvin Vettori can barely finish a sandwich. He's got pillows for hands. He does not finish people.
He has no problem finishing a meatball parm sub. Come on, man.
That's the only one he can finish. I don't necessarily see him getting a finish here. So I play a little saucy and I go Roman Dolidze finish only minus 105, meaning if it hits the scorecards, money back to me. So I don't know. I obviously I don't have anything, I guess, that strong. I'm probably end up circling Marvin. But what do you got for us, Andrew?
Yeah, I think Vettori should be fine here. Like, if Dolidze pulls it out again, I'll say hats off to him. But like, he's just had such a fortunate run. I mean, like, he looked like a huge underdog in the Hermanson fight. He hurt Phil Hawes' knee in a fight where like he looked outgunned. It's just, can he really keep doing this? And you're getting a guy in Vettori who, like you guys mentioned, he's fought way better competition than Dolidze. Like, obviously going 2 fights with Adesanya, Whittaker, etc. I think he's the much better striker. He's durable. He's a tank. I think he's going to look like a big favorite here. And I think if you do want to play Dolidze, it's probably submission is the way to go, because that really feels like to me what his win condition is here. But I think Vettori takes it handedly.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
think
Yeah, I
ultimately the
like it.
Dolidze finish only at -105 is the only safe thing,
It's
if
a
you
listen,
wanna be on the Dolidze
it's a
side.
great way to get your money back when Marvin Vettori wins a decision, but you could also win money by betting Marvin Vettori decision. Marvin Vettori decision -125 on FanDuel. I think that's pretty fair for a guy that they're saying is gonna win whatever, 75% of the time.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go down with the Georgian ship, oopsies. I mean, like, I'll admit, it might come down to me circling Vittori and putting a little personal play on Roman, but that it's just you got to keep. Sometimes you want to keep the money train rolling.
Sorry, guys,
Uh,
it's 73% of the time, not 75. Just want to be.
Sorry.
I don't want anybody to come after me.
No, of course, got to make sure those mathematics are on point. But
Listen,
all right,
I
yeah,
am not a numbers guy. TB will tell you guys. I barely. Shout out TB. I mean, he was able to take up calculus after like 10 years out of school. Calculus, bro. I
physics.
could barely visit. I could barely pass pre-algebra, homie. Like that's real. That's real life. That was a real life C- in junior year type struggle for me, and I never went back to. Dude, straight up, fine. When I transferred to community college because it was the cheaper option, I had to take a remedial, like the 0 level math class because I didn't do well enough on the active placer, and I did great in like the basic algebra, but it was like the advanced algebra. They're like, I just
So
can't do it. So yeah,
basically, what Guru is saying, he has nothing to do with this database
and
here.
0 testosterone,
Zero.
just none in my body at all.
Very low T. We got to get him on that. What is it? The Frank Thomas diet with those
Get me some blue chew
nutrients.
immediately.
All right. Well, fuck, man. We got Jack Shore moving up a weight class to featherweight.
I didn't even know that he was moving up a weight class. Like
Jack,
that's crazy. Can
Shore.
somebody tell me why after getting out wrestled you're gonna move up weight to bigger people? Is this just for this fight?
I mean,
does anybody understand what's happening?
The dude was pretty big for 135, just like size wise. I mean, Ricky Simone was wider, but I think Jack Tank Shore. I mean, that dude, he's got some thickness, and it comes from wrestling for a long time.
He's just kind of long and tall, but like Ricky Simone was beefcaked. I don't know, Andrew. What do you think? Why is he moving up?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it could be a combination of not wanting to cut the weight anymore, maybe getting a fresh start in a division where like 135 is arguably the best division in the roster, fill out a little bit, maybe some better stylistic matchups. It's hard to say though. I mean, it's probably not a coincidence that he went up after a loss, right?
Yeah. I think it was one of those things where he'd been struggling with the cut for so long, and it just gave him an excuse to like reset his run up the rankings. But I mean, Makwan Amirkhani is the toughest one-round test you could face in the wrestling department, right? I mean, fuck, man. And they even have like first round only type of plays. And I saw this is a guy that I saw go to split decision against Hunter Azure, who's like an okay wrestler. But if you're supposed to be the type of level of prospect that you are in Jack Shore, I mean, I would have expected a little bit better of a performance in that matchup. And then you face a guy in Ricky Simone where you're supposed to be the bigger guy, the better wrestler. And I mean, he stuffs the takedowns, but I mean, he really just did that. He ends up stuck in the clinch a bunch, and eventually, I mean, Ricky just he lands clean and is able to get the submission, really only because he had hurt him in the first place to get him down to the mat. So the question is, like, Makwan, I mean, this is a guy that we saw take down and control Lerone Murphy for a round and put him in some sketchy positions. And that's a pretty difficult thing to do. This is a guy, I mean, Edson Barbosa, even ended up not being able to finish him over the 3-round fight. Shane Burgos was put in a multitude of bad positions against him. Arnold Allen had to resort to a late finish to survive the distance against him. I think we saw with Jonathan Pierce, obviously, you can still outpace the guy, but I mean, the guy landed 3 out of 7 takedowns on Jonathan Pierce, so it's not like he can't take down a big wrestle heavy guy who's meant to be. I mean, Jonathan Pierce might be a 155er in the future. He might not be able to make that cut down to 145 going forward.
He better.
Whereas
that dude's like you could like just draw blood from him by touching him. He's so like drawn out paper thin when he's done. He's beefy.
So ultimately, I mean, like, listen, Jack Shore, he's probably going to be the cleaner striker from distance here. He's going to have more volume from distance, but if Makwan can make something happen in round one, man, it can be awfully spicy here. So
So
I'll take a look at some Makwan props
that's what I'm
myself.
saying. So like, I feel like it's almost mandatory when you have a Amir Khani fight, just like when you have a Paul Craig fight, you have to bet on the submission. You have to dig deep into grandma's couch cushions. Nothing on the bankroll, nothing official. Just dig deep into those couch cushions, and you find that spicy Amir Khani by submission plus 800 prop, or you go even further and you go for the the round one submission prop, which I'm sure will be even crazier odds. So you do something like that, but otherwise, yeah, Jack Shore upper weight class should be okay. He got clipped by Ricky Simone on the temple, did the chicken dance, tried to recover, pulled, landed in guard, went to his back, submitted. Not a great look. I don't know. Honestly, maybe Gombas will give me a little scoop on that. How do you feel like that fight was going? Like, was Jack Shore winning? Did he win round one? I don't know that he. I was pretty like unsure on how I actually felt about that. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it was close, but I think he lost round one slightly.
That's how I felt. That's
Yeah.
how I felt. But the live odds, as they come across the screen still as I'm watching the replay, they had Jack Shore basically, maybe a minute into round two was still basically the same size favorite as he was to start the fight. And maybe that's just DraftKings, controlling their shit or whatever. I don't know. But
yeah, I mean, sometimes it's hard for them. Sometimes they don't do a great job of knowing who won the round, or like even to take it a step further, if so-and-so won this round, how does it change the odds throughout the fight? Like it happens not so much this fight in particular, but it happens all the time where like someone banks around who's an underdog and looks pretty good doing it. And like they probably went from like plus 250 to like plus 150 when like they should be the favorite by now based on how the fight's playing out. But they don't want to overcorrect it based on one round. But if you like know what you're looking at, you kind of can tell. So maybe it's like on a lesser scale similar to that.
Dude, it's super tough. And then you watch fights like last week with Said Nurmagomedov, I believe, like closing like minus 550 on the live line, and they're just like they just don't know, or maybe the judges have it wrong. I don't know. Maybe I'm salty. I kind of scored it for Said, but can't hate it. Martinez dogged it out. Anyway, this fight, I mean, we kind of do. We'll hand it off to Gombas, right? Like, what do you?
Yeah, what do you got
here for? Does Jack get a decision? Does he get a finish? What happens here?
Yeah, I mean, it's so frustrating betting on Amir Khani recently because, like, I mean, I bet him in the Lerone Murphy fight, and he just like dominated him in round one. Murphy had nothing off of his back. Like he looked like a clear favorite. Clear favorite. He goes to shoot again in the second round, gets flying knee, and it's just like, oh my God. And yeah, I mean, we know what he is at this point. He's a good wrestler. He's a good submission threat. He's front loaded in terms of when he does his best work. And yeah, Shore's coming up a weight here. I'm sure Shore being the favorite's right. I'm just not so sure that the line is accurate. Like it just basically for me, it just boils down to like, do I really want to get burned betting Amir Khani again? So we'll see.
Yeah, it's super tough. And I think you do the Amir Khani round one sub plus 1800. And then if that doesn't hit, you do the live entry because Amir Khani is going to have one round one, and you'll at least get a minus 200 or a minus 150 line on Jack Shore.
That's if he takes over. That's if he beats Jack Shore in round one. I mean, just look at those pace stats. Look at the distance landed.
Yeah, but
his output is just.
I get it, but I mean, like we said, Jack Shore ends up being, wrestle fucked against the fence by Ricky Simone, being, wrestled a little by Hunter Azure. Like there's moments where Jack Shore isn't quite, I mean, he's been controlled for 17%. That's significant. Especially when Amir Khani has his own 35% control.
All right, well, so let's see who's he controlled by, just to double check it. We'll say I mean, listen. So Hunter Azure, who's respectable wrestler in his own right. Fine.
Timur Valiev.
And some Timur Valiev, who's just a scrappy dude.
Yeah, and
Back
Ricky
on, I believe,
Simone.
is on Tough this season, right?
Yeah, exactly. But round 1, Amir Khani is on the level of all those guys. It's just round 2 and round 3, Amir Khani. That's a real fucking issue. So, like I'm saying, it's like a live betting spot if you miss out on your first round bet.
Yeah, just like with Volkov last week. Psych.
Fuck, bro. Well, at least I was saying
sometimes
Romanov was
these
a fraud.
DraftKings are like sharper with it, and that was one of the times that they changed that shit right away.
Yeah, I actually tried laying Volkov minus 110 live, and it locked it on me. So I was a little sad about that. But anyways, we'll keep this train rolling. We got Chris Duncan. Heavy emphasis on just Chris. Versus Omar.
no Chin and no Leroy, just Chris.
Yeah. Just Chris. Wow, no chin. That's interesting. That's interesting. You would bring that up.
No chin. Oh,
oh,
that is funny. He has no chin, and he's got no chin.
No.
That's crazy. Nobody knows what we're talking about.
Yeah, so Chris Duncan minus 105, Omar Morales minus 115. That's a good TB nickname, Chris No Chin Duncan.
He's the problem. He's got a chin problem. He's the problem.
Oh God, what's Omar's nickname? Is it anything good?
It's really it's wild.
It's like his
Venezuelan fighter.
Oh, the Venezuelan vixen. All right.
No, yeah, right, the Venezuelan vixen.
Got it. Exactly. Okay, good.
Juliana Pena.
All right. So ultimately, I just think, as much as I think, like the UFC experience of Omar Morales, the fact that he's been in there with a striker like Giga Chikadze, that he's been in there. I mean, Gabriel Benitez, like he's a good striker in his own right too, for all of his other issues. Shane Young, these days, not as difficult to be looking pretty solid against, but where I get a little sketched out is like Uros Medic, like moving back up to 155. Like that should have been a good spot for him to like pull out his cardio, pull out, his wily vet game plan. But I guess Medic just came off of that loss against Jalen Turner and said, I'm on a business trip. So Omar Morales, like what type of guy are we getting here showing up? Because I mean, Chris Duncan gave Vyacheslav Barshev like a lot in the stand-up early. He gave him a couple solid takedowns before being out scrambled. And then against Charlie Campbell, I mean, he showed that he can at least withstand, a decent chunk of damage. Just not so great when like it shows 0 knockdowns by Charlie Campbell, but that's just not true.
That's crazy.
That's really just not true.
That's crazy.
I thought he
killed him 3 times.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, ultimately, like Chris Duncan, are you in danger of being finished by Omar Morales is the real question.
No, and that's like the big thing. And dude, these lines are all flipped and crazy. So like Chris Duncan minus 115, Omar Morales minus 105 on DraftKings, but it's the other way on FanDuel with Chris Duncan minus 108 and Omar Morales minus 118. Really, really strange. I don't know if it's just the people that I follow, but I feel like kind of Twitter's darling of the week is Omar Morales. And I haven't necessarily understood why. He's a guy that was, undefeated and decided to move down a weight class for no inexplicable and loses, comes back, beats Shane Young, who's fairly not great at this point, and then loses 2 fights in a row now. So, and again, loses to a guy in Uros Medic who is like his only path is like the striking and maybe the best thing about Omar going into that fight was like, well, at least he's got a good chin. Dude got fucking spanked. He slept. So not good. I really think that Chris Duncan, while Omar like kind of likes to, he's really just a point fighter, and you see it in his 3 decision wins in the UFC. I don't think I know Chris Duncan's not coming out there to play patty cake with him. Chris Duncan throws everything with fight-ending intentions. He comes in crazy with spinning and high kicks and step-in jabs. He's got decent fundamentals. He just does not move his head at all. He prefers to block punches with his face. But I just don't think that Omar's going to knock him out here, so I'm not as worried about it. I think they're done with Omar at 37 years old. Where's he at in his contract? Probably, yeah, this is probably the last fight on his contract too, dude. So I think he loses and he's done. That's my call. I'm calling it that he's on the roster watch on Tuesday. What do you got, Gombas?
Yeah, this is a tough one for me because on one hand, I do feel like Morales is better technically, but Duncan's a brawler. He hits hard. Morales is on the older side. He's coming off being finished twice in a row. I could see this one going either way. I'm picking Morales, though, because like I said, I do think he's a better technical fighter, face better competition. Duncan, a lot of fun to watch. I bet against him the first time on Contenders. I bet on him the second time. First time, he looked like he was going to win and lost. Second time, he looked like he was going to lose and won. So I felt fortunate. I felt fortunate there to be on the right sides of that. But yeah, this is an interesting one. I think Morales' slight favorite probably makes sense, but it's not a strong conviction because I do think it probably is a close fight, and I do think that Duncan maybe could mix in takedowns. I don't think he's going to hold Morales down for long periods of time, but in what should be a close fight, I think that could potentially.
But see, even you saying that, I'm glad you did. I not only think that he could mix in takedowns, I think he will mix in takedowns. I think that they'll be decently successful with him having 61% takedown defense, and even like you said, Andrew, he may not hold him down. That's fine. Dude's got no cardio. Omar's got no cardio, and like you said, Chris is a brawler, and like I said, he's throwing everything with vicious intentions. So maybe he finds that round 2 KO type deal, maybe a little bit later on. But hey, listen, another round 2 finish. He's been finishing round 2 twice now in a row. Maybe a third one.
If I could get this Duncan at plus money, I'll have some interest.
I would love. You got everybody that listens to the show knows how much slut I am for plus money. If I could get plus money on Chris Duncan, it's happening. Yeah. It's happening.
But other than that, I just don't think I'm like itching too heavy.
No,
and it's not even a big play if it happens. It's just like a unit out there to see how we do. Yeah,
exactly.
But yeah, so I think this one.
Anything to add, Andrew? Before we move on.
No, it's a tough fight to call. I slightly lean Morales, but we'll see.
No, that's fair. Totally.
This one's like super interesting. Like they I don't know why this isn't happening at the Apex. I guess honestly, as I say that, I know why it's not happening at the Apex, and it's your A side and Sam Patterson. But it's still probably more of an Apex fight to me. I don't know.
Yeah, I get it, and they're trying to build him on a pay-per-view spot. Well, the 5-inch height advantage.
He's the hometown fighter from England, so
yeah. I mean, a 5-inch height advantage here. I mean, Ashmaz versus Sam Patterson. The future, the third future. We went from Macy Barber, Ian Gary. Now we got Sam Patterson. So let's see where this takes us in the world.
It keeps slightly getting worse.
Yeah, right. It's just like, fuck. I mean, like, look at these stats on Contender Series. He's like dead even with this guy throwing more strikes to get there, and
gets dropped.
He's the one that's getting taken down a little bit, and he gets some reversals, gets some submission attempts, but I just I think Ashmos comes out with like actually at least aggressive enough striking, and he'll show like some competence in the wrestling department. I think Ryan Risco, he's a pretty solid wrestler, so
talented wrestler, but
but he doesn't really have. He
Cardio
gets kneed in the nuts.
Yeah.
He gets kneed in the nuts, and it doesn't get called after he got kicked in the nuts.
It's true.
And that's how the finish really happens. So
that's fair too.
Ultimately, what I really feel on this fight,
tell me,
is we got one undefeated prospect at 6-0 versus a 10-1-1 where he lost by knockout, but it was in his second pro fight a little while ago, back in a catchweight bout. So this is one of those ones where I'm like, I think we can find like a little goes the distance spot here, potentially a little over 2.5 at plus 115.
Yeah.
I think both these guys have shown that they've been able to beat up on some lower level opponents, but now that they're kind of running into some, a guy that has been promoted, a guy on PFL Challenger Series, a guy that's been in, flying around the world and been in different organizations versus a guy that's being promoted in his hometown. I think we could see a more tentative, big action, lower action fight in a big cage here. A guy that might have a little bit of jitters, and a guy that's shown that he can be wrestled a little too in Patterson. Yeah. So
I would say
like
that
the over.
You like the over? I would say that Patterson's like huge issue, right? Other than maybe his lack of head movement, he'll back out of the pocket with his hands down. He's got questionable takedown defense. He can be pushed up against the cage. And honestly, like he's not like a quick striker. Like his strikes kind of seem just slow to me. He's willing to switch his stances, but he's mainly more orthodox. He's a long and rangy guy. He's got the sneaky leg kick, straight punches, decent pace, decent cardio. But like, I don't know. There wasn't really anything other than his intangibles of his size and reach that like showed me that he's the future of anything. So I was super unimpressed with him. And then I go watch Yanal Ashimov, who I'm like, this dude's undefeated. Like, and again, I guess it doesn't mean much because I bet on Sadiq last week, but like, this is like the worst undefeated fighter I've ever. This is terrible. He's got some technical stuff that I do like. He's got some sharp high kicks. He's got the leaping switch kick that was really nice. He's got the nice inside trip and some dirty boxing, right? But he's got these swiping punches, and I just was so unimpressed with his own takedown defense. He's grabbing the fence on CFFC. He can't get up off the ground. It's just a clear hole there. And now he's facing a guy that's way bigger than him. With that being said, he's willing to use any sort of wrestling, Sam Patterson is the leaning tower of Pisa. He wants to fall down and he won't get back up. So it almost makes Yanal, who's again a poor. I didn't enjoy the tape. Unfortunately, I was really excited. The Red Fox. I'm like, let's go. And I'm like, bro, this is tough. So I don't. What do you think, Andrew? Because maybe you're more. Would tell you've been watching tape, like regional tape, way longer. What do you think about somebody like Yanal and Sam Patterson?
Yeah, I don't think either one of them have too good of a future in the UFC, if I'm being honest. I mean, Patterson's much bigger. He's long. He has a nice guillotine, but his wrestling's bad. His striking defense is bad. I think his saving grace here is, like I said, it's just the size. Like, size matters, and it's just a big difference here. So he's definitely the rightful favorite. I could only bet the underdog, though. Like, Patterson just doesn't strike me as a minus 250 fighter. Like, I think he's gonna win, but I could never lay anything close to that kind of price on him here.
You hear that, TB? Don't worry. Whatever your girlfriend tells you, size does matter. All right, buddy. So,
Jesus Christ.
No, listen. Yeah, you're totally right, and I think that's why, Andrew. Not only are you a sharp bettor, but you're an efficient bettor. You're identifying somebody that just simply does not deserve, is not worth your money at this price tag, regardless of how many times they may win this fight out of 10. And I am inclined to agree with you. And I would maybe even take a grandma's couch cushion dog shot type play. How do you feel about TB's play of fight going the distance? I'm partial to agree with it.
I think you're probably going to be holding your breath, which, I mean, we're used. Hey, we bet overs and go the distance. We know what you're signing up for. I think it could happen. I don't know. It really depends, like, what kind of pace gets put on. And I know Patterson has the striking defense is a mess, but is Ashimov really a hitter to get it done? So I don't know. I don't have a strong opinion on the total here personally.
That's fair. What was the heavyweight fight last week? We were holding our tickets and we got it.
Is that Carl?
Yeah, Carl Williams. We bet the round 3 decision, and fight goes the distance at like plus 160 or something.
Oh
yeah, 130 or whatever the fuck it was. But yeah, it was plus money. So we're sitting there holding the ticket, like, don't finish him. Good job. I think it was like Mark Smith. Like, good job, Mark. Just let him just smash on him here. None of these shots are landing. Don't worry about it.
Hell yeah. So I think we did a solid job on that low level fight, quite frankly.
Sure.
Now we got
how do you say that guy's name? We didn't even go over that pre.
Okay, so it's Mohammed Mukayev, which
that
we
I know
that one. And then we got Jafel Filho.
Oh, it's easy. Jafel Filho.
All right.
That's fine.
So from Nova União, coming out of the same camp,
Jose Aldo.
Yeah, yeah. You know the deal. Guru knows what's going on here. But we got the Punisher versus the Preacher. Apparently, Filho is like he does some like church stuff, right?
The Punisher versus the Pastor.
Oh, the Pastor. The Pastor. Oopsies, I'm sorry. Yeah. Apparently, he's a real real orthodox guy out there. But yeah, I mean, he's got 14 finishes out of his 15 or 13 finishes out of his 14 wins.
What?
He's finished every fight but one. He only fuck. Maybe I need to speak with the Lord. And then his out of his 2 losses, he has been submitted once. So I do feel like Makayev is getting a guy that he's able to finish in his hometown. But Filio, if this fight does play out on the feet, which I don't think Makayev will want even 1 second of, a guy that shoots 16 takedowns for 15 minutes, that's Merab level number. That's Mateusz Gamrot level number. We've seen now 3 weeks in a row guys that are over 15 takedowns per 15 minutes.
That's crazy.
So you really can't take too much of what the other guy's offensive striking is, because they're going to be concerned about stuffing takedowns the whole fight. And Filio goes for 7 takedowns of his own against Hoibert Echeverria, and you can't do that against Makayev. You can't.
It's not gonna. Yeah, it's one of those really, really interesting fights where I think I was so intrigued watching the Malcolm Gordon fight, because I wasn't expecting Gordon to have balls like that, man. The scrambling, the putting it on him, like. No, I don't think anybody thought that. I mean, unless you really took the dog shot on Gordon, which props, I guess, that it was really going to be that close in the grappling. But yeah, no, it's just not a fight that I'm necessarily. I don't really love what I saw from Filho, right? Like he really throws the inside kick without setting anything up in front of it. He kind of struggles to close distance to achieve his takedowns, which is like one of the main ways he wants to, set up his offense, 9 submissions. So, he doesn't close the distance well or do too much damage with his striking. He's got some front kicks and will go for a body lock takedown, shit like that. But I just think the more creative, more fluid, more dangerous guy is Makayev. What's up with his shoulder? Pulled out of a fight, came back into a fight, has a shoulder injury, he's back, his surgery, it didn't go well. I don't
love it.
I don't love it. It's super sketchy.
Well, he
just showed you as a -700, -800 versus Gordon that he'll win, but he'll be sketchy for you. So I kind of like this fight to go the distance. Is that crazy? Am I crazy? Tell me I'm crazy. +140. Tell me I'm crazy. Andrew, tell me I'm crazy.
Dude, I actually haven't looked into this fight deeply enough yet. I kind of skipped around. I saw it was a big fight. I saw -800 was kind of like, I'll just leave it for now, but seems like I need to check it out.
Yeah, we'll definitely we'll circle back to you later in the week. But it's just one of those guys I just was super not impressed with on Dana White Contender Series against a guy in Echeverria who was only 7-0 at the time, was literally he says he's living in a warehouse, and Kelvin Gastelum's like, here bro, let's get you some chicken and get you out of there. So he's training at King's MMA and gets the shot or whatever. So
yeah, I think Makayev by submission +110 if you're gonna play him at all. Given that Filho does have a submission loss and he's willing to get into the grappling and play off his back a little bit, I think, if you were going to do anything on this fight,
I mean,
that's where I would leave.
Yeah, part of me kind of wants to take a stab at the fight going the distance, or Makayev by decision is not even worth it. It's probably fine. Yeah. Fuck this fight. It's probably this is the submit because the submission prop is not even. It's +1. It's +110. It's +110 though. It's
for a -800. So I mean, if I said, if there's any spot that I'll play as a guy sitting down watching these fights, I just don't think it ends up on a bet MMA type of
Thomas, I'm gonna tweet at you on maybe Friday night and be like, so what do you think?
Yeah,
and, I appreciate you, bud.
All right, awesome. So here we go. We got a Lerone Murphy versus a Gabriel Santos. Murphy, the -180 favorite, to Santos +155. And the more I dug into this fight, the more sketched out I started getting. And ended up with a ticket on -135 Lerone Murphy that I ended up cashing out for evens. Took my money back. And I got a whole new idea for this fight, because this one we've got 2 actually undefeated prospects. 2 guys that while they may have been in bad situations in the past, haven't been finished before. And over 2.5 is at -150, and the fight goes the distance at -125. I just think both guys are proficient wherever the fight's going to take place. I think Santos throws more volume than Murphy. Murphy has more power than Santos, but I'm just not comfortable in Murphy's 40% opponent control rate.
Yeah.
If Santos, I've seen him with Elvis Brenner scrambling around and getting control, landing ground and pound, and having a good time in that in that way. And I've seen him win decisions, so I know he has the cardio to survive. He's not going to mock on me, I don't think. But Murphy, obviously, he's got finishing potential. I think he is the real deal. I just
we haven't seen him in a
yeah,
year
exactly.
now.
And first time fighting in home in England too, in a big octagon, which is just going to even more accentuate his low volume.
It's like a year and 6 months, a year and 5 months. Why? You weren't the one that got flying knee knocked out. What happened? You just took it off to train?
Yeah.
I'm very confused by why we haven't seen him. He had a canceled fight with Nate Landwehr this time last year where he withdrew. I don't know why.
Yeah.
And then he was supposed to fight Nathaniel Wood, and he gets Gabriel Santos. To me, and you kind of see it with the respect in the line, when you take a fight, quote unquote, on short notice or where they call in the second guy, you kind of like expect those wide lines. And when you see -180, you're like, okay, well, that's interesting. The bookies maybe respect this guy. And you watch the tape on Santos and you kind of start to see why. He's the former champion at in LFA, right? He won the belt there. Did he not?
Oh yeah.
So I mean that's important. I think at least a little bit, and how he looked doing it, right? Kicks are a major part of his offense. He's decent with his counters. He likes to use his kicks and jabs to find the range. And one of the things I think that's most important to this fight, and you kind of touched on it when he fought Elvis Brenner, he's willing to grapple. He slammed takedown on Brenner. He's no slouch on the ground, and he's live for a sub with 4 submission wins in his career. I just feel like, his bigger problem is like he kind of throws with his chin in the air, and maybe he's just like a bit of a headhunter despite being successful to the body when working his punches. So I just think with all those question marks with Murphy, maybe some added pressure, all this layoff, and a guy in Santos who just fought in January. It's been 2 months, and he's had over 3 weeks to prepare for this fight. What's his face? Nathaniel Wood pulled out of that fight I think like a month ago, at least. So like he's had some time to get ready for Lerone here, and I also think that the path, like if you watch the tape, if Gabriel Santos' team is doing tape, like use a little grappling. So I'm just all of that to say I'm just sketched. So I don't think I'm playing Lerone Murphy at -180. If you got -135 and you had the balls to keep it, that's cool. I respect TB for cashing out. I don't think I would have had the balls to keep it. Gombas, what do you got? I think I'm barking. I think I'm barking. I think I'm a dog. What do you got?
This is another one you're gonna have to skip me on from now. I haven't done adequate research on it.
No worries. You're all good, man.
And if I'm allowed to tweet at you for the last one, I'm definitely tweeting you for this one because I think this one is like the sneaky fight of the card, maybe the one I'm most excited for. In comparative in fairness.
Fight goes the distance, baby. -125. Let's hit it.
I like that.
All right, so we will keep this train a rolling. We got Christian Leroy Duncan versus Dushko Todorovic. Shout out to Best Fight.
Listen, and I was gonna say, listen, make sure you're following at Chronic Combat on Twitter. All of us on Twitter and Instagram, Facebook, right? Because mostly on Twitter here, because that's how you're gonna get these picks that we're gonna talk about too. So yeah, it's a great place to follow us. YouTube as well. Subscribe, send it around. Appreciate
Leroy. What do you got going on here, man? Coming over, Cage Warriors champion. We had to get 2 Chris Duncans on this card. One wasn't enough, so we got the second one in. This one's a bigger favorite, 7-0, but I think he's kind of shown the ability to fight back. We've seen him taken down and controlled at multiple points, but he always kind of finds a way to work out of it. It does make me concerned, though. I mean, you're facing a guy in Todorovic. He's probably given up a little bit of size here, but I do think that he does have his clinch capabilities. He has the ability to go to a little bit of wrestling to try to slow the fight down. It's just if Leroy has shown, the same type of explosiveness he's shown on the regional scene, he brings that in. We've seen Dushko just get absolutely flatlined by multiple opponents. So it's a question of the type of finisher that Duncan is, and it's kind of one of those ones where I'm like, I'm gonna pick Duncan, but Dusko could be an interesting dog play depending on the size differential at faceoffs here. If he's given up the athletic edge, he's lost every single one of those fights. So I would, Puna Soriano versus Njokuani and versus Gregory Rodriguez. Right. But then, he beats Michel Pereira on the regional scene. It's just we really haven't seen that same type of guy. It's like we've seen the guy that finished Daquan Townsend, Maki Pitolo, got wrestled by Jordan Wright for a round, and then remembered it's Jordan Wright as long as you can finish him. Yeah, so
unless you're Zach Pauga.
Yeah, so I need to see. I mean, I think Duncan's going to be the bigger guy, the better athlete. I'd like to just make sure that at faceoffs, but I'm not going to go parlay Duncan as a debutant here. I know he's the hometown guy also, so that helps a little bit. But yeah, I think Duncan, like finish only if you're looking for a bet here, or even like a knockout only. But I'm going to see if they didn't have that line earlier when I looked in the day. So they still haven't really placed anything besides the over 1.5 minus 115. And I kind of almost lean towards that.
That's an interest. Listen, like Gombas said earlier, I think you're going to be fucking holding your ticket hard for that one.
Clenched butthole all day long.
It's just like Leroy's deficiency is so massive in the grappling. He's got poor takedown defense and poor get-up game. Can be pushed and controlled against the cage. It's a problem. Dusko Todorovic, it's kind of crazy. If he decides to use his grappling enough, like he may actually find success. Like, sure, he lands 1.3 takedowns per 15 minutes, but he shoots 6 takedowns per 15 minutes. I think he might have a chance to be more successful here, regardless of whether Duncan is hurt or not. Like, he's just somebody that gives him up. It's not good. And he doesn't, like I said, doesn't get up well. Positive things for Duncan, why he's the favorite: good straight punches, technical striker, nice use of his teep kicks, strong in combination, got some fight-changing power, and he uses his hip feints really well, like getting guys to bite. Problem with Dusko is fairly obvious. He's fucking chinny as hell. He got knocked out round 1 by Puna, knocked out round 1 by Chitty. That's fair. Those guys can crack, especially Puna solely in round 1. But and kind of Njokuani too, honestly. So yeah, are you gonna let Duncan tee off on you in round 1, Dusko? Then sure, you should be plus 500. Like go ahead. But if you actually have a real game plan in terms of trying to shoot takedowns, 7 takedowns attempted on Chitty Njokuani. I mean, that's kind of the what I'm looking for. 4 takedowns attempted on Gregory Rodriguez, 4 takedowns attempted on Jordan Wright, but wasn't successful with any. Is not a great look, but I'd like to see it. And that's all. It just kind of makes me sketch. It's a guy making his debut. I can't get there at minus 215. Like I said, too many holes. Is Dusko the guy to exploit them? I guess we'll wait till Saturday to see. I'm just like TD said very aproposly. I think I'm circling Duncan and considering if there's maybe some value to be had on Dusko. But what do you think, Andrew? Did you get here?
Yeah, I think Dusko is probably the side here. One of the most consistent edges I've found in MMA betting over the years is I think people underestimate how hard it is to be like a 500 level UFC fighter. Like it almost seems like the same process. You get a guy like a Chris Duncan who comes from another organization that has a pretty record. He's a big favorite. And he wins some, he loses some, he's overvalued in the beginning, and then he starts to become undervalued. So it's like you take a look at Dusko Todorovic a few years ago. He was this minus 215 favorite in every fight, minus 250 favorite. He had some mixed results. He had some wins. He had some losses. And it's like almost the circle of life. Now he's like plus 200 in a fight against the new guy. And then maybe a few years down the line, Chris Duncan's plus 200 against the new guy. And it's just like, yeah, I mean, could Dusko get knocked out here? For sure. Duncan's more athletic. He's explosive, but he hasn't really fought anyone. He's shown he can be taken down. He's low volume. Todorovic probably is the grappling upside here. He definitely is the level of competition upside. I think minutes striking are probably close. I think Duncan has the knockout upside, but I just don't agree with the line here. But you could make a case for either guy winning, but I think as far as like the implied percentages are, this one's off.
No, I definitely had Todorovic on my short list of dogs.
Agreed, and that's kind of what I wanted to hear you say as well, because there's nothing I really love about Duncan, and like you said about level of competition, 2 of his wins are against the same fucking guy, back to back, Will Curry. That's cool, bro. Like and you watch his last 2 fights. I don't know how to pronounce that guy's name, Mellon. I mean, he's losing round 1 bad to Mellon, and Mellon is sleepy, and he's done with the fight. He's good. So then Duncan takes over. Like that's like not winning. That's your opponent losing. It's not good. It's not what I like to see. So yeah, I really like what you said about the circle of life there, Andrew, and I think you're totally right. I think the market is can be not only cyclical, but the recency bias and the patterns with bettors really cause that circle of life as well.
Hell yeah. All right. Sick. I like that. We all came together. So here we go. We got our next fight. I have a feeling
I'm just gonna go with what Dan Levy said. And he tweeted at you, TB, this week. Dan Levy tweeted at TB and he said, "Friends don't let friends bet on Malcolm Gordon."
Fuck.
And that's probably it. Is it sketchier than it should be? Sure. Is the line sketchier than it should be? Sure. Is Malcolm Gordon really gonna pull it out the mud? Really, Malcolm X Gordon? Really? That's the guy that's gonna do it? I don't know.
Hear me out. I'm Psycho T. Okay. First off,
listen, Jake Hadley's had a ton of success in the O2 arena, but.
Yeah, all right. So listen here. All right, I got the On the Line podcast, fresh baby blue hoodie. I'm bringing my Psycho T vibes. Tyler Hansbrough, UNC,
where's the
national champion? Psycho T. It's okay. Just I'll get a bloody nose. That'll work. But yeah, listen, man. I stupidly am thinking about Malcolm Gordon. I just think that Jake Hadley doesn't do enough to hurt people. I feel like, he's very grappling dependent and wrestling dependent in his wins. And I think that Gordon's just a little bit tricky unless you're that strong or like, Amir Al-Bazis of the world, for sure. Sumu Derju, who's just like an athletic freak with his reach. And like, he got plastered by a few punches. It wasn't just like one little jab that put him down. Like, Malcolm Gordon's shit. I'm not going to sit here defending it all day. Okay. But, I do think that at least against Jake Hadley, I don't have to be worried about him getting iced in the first round. And for him to be taking Makhaev's back at the end of round 2 and really putting him in sketchy positions, I think Jake Hadley is not on the same level as Muhammad Makhaev.
That's interesting.
I think that Gordon has shown to just be tricky. I think he's shown to, against a guy in Francisco Figueiredo who was at least an athletic prospect, if not, an actual good fighter. But I mean, yeah, he was able to get a little wrestling going. So, I mean, hey, Jake Hadley, that Nascimento fight the taste sits in my mouth to this day.
I'm sorry. Did you say that Francisco Figueiredo was a good fighter?
I said he was an athlete, not a good fighter.
Okay.
Yes. So I was just saying, like, Jake Hadley doesn't even really have a huge size advantage here. They're supposedly the same size with Gordon as a 1-inch reach. I want to see the face-offs before I like jump off the bridge with Malcolm Gordon here, but I've talked too much about Malcolm.
No, I really like Jake Hadley because, and I get it being a hater of Jake Hadley, he really looked terrible in his Alan Nascimento fight, and he kind of has that douchey British personality. It's kind of easy to hate. So I totally get that. I was on him versus Carlos Candelario. And, he looked good in that fight. Carlos was somebody that's a decently well-rounded MMA fighter and who had never been finished before, and he finished him. And I just don't really like what Malcolm Gordon brings to the table in terms of look at that distance accuracy at 35%.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm
Just
not circling Malcolm Gordon,
but
by any
that's the
stretch,
thing.
but
So it's like, sure, like you can tell me the ways that like he won't lose the fight, and that's cool, maybe, but he has to win the fight. So how is he hurting him? Like, what's he gonna do?
I mean, he
has to
shoots
control.
5 takedowns per 15.
But you're telling me,
one
that
and a
he has to
half.
control him the most of the round. And
Well, he's a really good grappler. I mean,
is he Alan Nascimento good?
Well, that's a great question, man. And I don't think he's Alan Nascimento big either. So there are reasons
Alan
why.
Nascimento is so
Listen,
big.
I'm just saying, as far as sprinkling, to
I
take
just don't
from your
think Malcolm
verbiage.
Gordon's that kind of athlete. Like, I mean, he did look good against Makayev, but like, I felt like that was kind of personal for him, and like, I don't know, that fight was fucking crazy. So
yeah, I think he could bring a little chaos with his grappling. I mean, you saw that in the Bondar fight as well. He just doesn't make it easy for you. He even gets on top of Albazi before Albazi's like, "Oh wait, let me triangle this motherfucker."
And let me be very clear.
Yep.
I did not sprint to the book to lay minus 380 on Jake Hadley.
Fair enough.
Like,
you're just trying to talk me off of wasting my money on Malcolm Gordon.
Correct. I think an over 1.5 at minus 150 is actually fucking nuts.
Yeah,
I don't think he is, because we've been going back and forth on who's submitting who. Nobody's submitting anybody. How about that? They're just gonna, play touch butt on the floor for at least 7.5 minutes.
Yeah, I don't know, because Gordon's been finished in every single loss of his, 4 knockouts and 2 submissions. So
okay, but
really sketchy.
Okay, but submitted by Amir Albazi, who is huge and extremely well-rounded, knocked out by Sumadarji in 45 seconds. As you said, not necessarily the issue here versus Jake Hadley, and submitted in the final 30 seconds by Muhammad Makayev, because that dude is absolutely, positively relentless. So, yeah, I mean, he also got knocked out 3 times before that by guys I've never heard of. But
oh, God.
That's why friends don't let friends bet on Malcolm Gordon. Gombas, please, you have been so respectful, and it's been way too long since you've spoken. So please shed some light here.
No, I think that Hadley's going to walk through Gordon here. I think he's better everywhere. I think he's a better striker. I think he's a better grappler. He's more durable. Gordon finished in all 6 of his losses. I mean, Hadley lost to Nascimento, who's huge for 125, who's a very good grappler. Gordon, just no takedown defense. Hadley could get on top whenever he wants. Hadley more durable. I think he has every advantage here. I think Hadley's going to roll.
I didn't even say that. That's the most. I think that might be the worst we've ever seen. 9% takedown defense.
Yeah, it's terrible. I mean, if you watch the Makayev fight, he's just like, he's practically asking him to get on top.
That's insane.
Yeah,
Makayev goes 6 of 7. But Bondar 1 of 1. Figueiredo 2 of 2. Albazi 1 of 1. He has stopped 1 takedown in his career. And it was against Makayev. We could probably find which one it was.
TB will issue his retraction.
Thank you. And shout out the boy Dan Levy for just a killer tweet there. And friends don't let friends bet on Malcolm Gordon. Doesn't happen.
Yeah, definitely not here. But hey, we got Joanne Wood minus 175 versus Luana Carolina.
Now this is one of those fights that's super interesting to me, because I kind of like Joanne Wood here.
You're right. It is super interesting. How do you go from being Calderwood to finding your surname being Wood? That's super interesting to me.
That's like there being 2 Chris Duncans on the same card.
What the fuck?
That's pretty funny, actually. Oh my goodness. But I like Joanne Wood here. I don't really think that Luana is right. Okay, so what's the big knock on Joanne Wood? She's been finished lately. Okay, well, how's she being finished? Well, she's being submitted, right? And she's being armbarred, no? I just
naked choked by Alexa.
Rear naked choke, and she got one of them was an arm. No,
I mean, Tyler Santos knocked her down.
Thank you, Jennifer Maia. Thank you. I knew there was an armbar in there. Yeah. 1 Jennifer Maia armbar in round 1, and 2 rear naked chokes. 1 from Talia Santos, 1 from the apparent jiu-jitsu expert Alexa Grasso.
Jiu-jitsu.
She is strong with the jiu-jitsu. I just feel that Joanne Wood's kind of being overlooked here in the fact that she should probably be like a minus 300 type favorite. Luana Carolina is barely UFC level, right? 8-3 record. Her best stuff, right, is I don't know, maybe just her pace in general, just the striking pace, because Joanne Wood's biggest issue, right, is her 59% takedown defense. If you want to take down Joanne Wood, be the more dominant grappler, and submit her, you have a really good path against Joanne Wood. Luana Carolina, as you see, with no takedowns attempted across 15 minutes, is landed across 15 minutes, and none attempted, so 0 either way, is not looking to get the fight on the ground. So that's not really her place to win. She's got John Wood in her corner, making sure she's sharp on the mitts. Her pace at 19% is 19 strikes thrown per minute, 9 landed per minute is just is insane. And I don't think that Carolina can hang with it if she even makes weight. So I'm taking the 37-year-old at a reach disadvantage. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean,
tell me why I'm crazy.
I mean, it should be a level spot. If Molly McCann's getting control time on you, it's really not ideal. And Joanne Wood actually has a 21% control rate in her career, lands 1.5 per 15 and shoots 3 per fight. So I wouldn't say it's too far-fetched for her to come in with even, a grappling approach against Luana Carolina. That got her into trouble against Jennifer Maia, but that's not who Luana is. I will say, though, Luana has attempted 4 submissions in the UFC, but I think a lot of those were like, she was looking for some stuff against Lupi, as Lupi shot 15 takedowns. So, overall, I mean, Carolina just I think she actually might be able to land with more power, and I think that she might be able to match the volume. I mean, she throws 181 versus Cachoeira, and she throws 113 before being, spinning back fisted or spinning back elbow by Molly McCann. But, I don't think Joanne Wood really presents like a finishing potential on the feet at all. So I don't think the volume is even like scary, and she's giving up the reach. It's honestly, you're banking on JoJo to win with, her control time, if you want her to look like that price, quite frankly. Andrew, what are you thinking, man?
Yeah, I thought I would like Calderwood more than I did here. Like, on one hand, she's better technically. She's fought better competition. But on the other hand, Caroline is big for the division. Wood's getting up there in age. I don't know. It just seems like the line's about right to me. Like, I'm definitely picking Wood to win. I've been lower on Carolina than most in the past, so I'm would love to have been interested in fading her here. But I just think the line's about right. I think Wood will win a decision.
Couldn't agree with you more. I would have loved to have seen like some sort of prospect or somebody in here and maybe actually had a chance to fade her at least a little bit more confidently. I would sooner take Grandma's couch cushion type play if I can get Joanne Wood by decision at plus money. Like she'll be minus 175. You might be able to get like a minus 110 or even a plus 100 type deal.
Yeah. I don't know.
I listen. At the same time, if we were Captain Hindsight on Sunday, you'd be like, "Man, that was an obvious trap spot."
Yeah, I think I'm on Carolina,
bro. Like, yeah, like I mean, I get it. Like, would we be absolutely positively shocked if she left the gloves in the cage after this fight? Absolutely, I wouldn't be shocked. Would you be shocked, Andrew?
No.
Exactly. Yeah. So, like, how can you lay chalk on somebody that may retire after the fight? Like, you can't. So I probably retract it.
Yeah.
Speaking of, and then we'll move on. I'm sorry. The Sun-South fight, that shit was crazy, right? He's going to retire, and he's about to win the fight by decision, and they reset the position, and he gets knocked out. Choked out. The fucking craziest, nearly knocked out, choked out with the.
So you're telling me Luana Carolina by reverse triangle is what
yes, that's exactly what I told you. Rush to your bookies now.
All right. So Jay Herbert plus 165, the hometown kid facing Ludovic Klein at minus 195 at this moment. The Black County Banger versus Mr. Highlight.
Back country.
Black Country. Oh, well, you typed it incorrectly in our notes.
I did not.
Yes, you did. It says Black County. I know you put the nicknames and not me. So go fuck yourself. Yeah, so listen, I think Jai Herbert should be like a speed disadvantage here, for sure. I think Klein, since he's moved up weight and kind of settled in a bit, his cardio and his offensive wrestling have actually kind of been, what he's needed. I think the Trezano fight, I thought you even have an argument for him, being the winner in that one. I mean, he gets the nearly 5 minutes of control. He lands 4 out of 7 takedowns strategically. And the striking is like somewhat close on the feet. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, he just never really let loose on Trezano there, who like lulled him to sleep in the matchup. And then seeing Trezano in his future matchups is just not ideal. But Nate Landwehr fight, man, I could give you a pass on that one. I certainly can. In the same way, I mean, Jai Herbert looked really good early against Ilia Topuria. But I just think we overall see his limitations. I think that Klein is a bit more patient and calculated than Topuria, who's kind of sees red and he's like the fucking bull. So he just gets in there and goes crazy. So I think Klein should be able to manage the kickboxing distance. He should be able to throw kicks to the body, even if with that like 5-inch height advantage, he can't quite reach or 6-inch height advantage. He can't quite reach Jai Herbert's head with his head kicks. I think he could get nice work into the body, into the legs. And
yeah,
I think that Klein, he loves even working in the clinch and getting his takedowns. I don't think Herbert will be able to go to his offensive wrestling game plan like he did against Kyle Nelson.
Herbert is slow. His hands are slow. He likes to kick at range.
36% accuracy.
And he's not accurate. He's low volume. He has a poor chin. And like I just don't see it, bro. Like Klein is somebody who, I mean, in my notes, I wrote like elite hand speed. His boxing is really quick. So I think he's going to have no problem closing that distance. I think he's going to have no problem touching up and hurting Jai Herbert, because Jai Herbert doesn't like to get hit. We look at Jai Herbert's wins. He beats Kama Worthy, right? Kama Worthy by, obviously, you guessed it, round 1 knockout.
Okay.
Because that guy has absolutely no chin. It's not that he has no chin. He has absolutely no chin. So he knocks out Kama Worthy in round 1, which you absolutely are supposed to. You must. Ask Trevor Peak. You have to knock out Kama Worthy in round 1. And then he beats Kyle Nelson. But I'm sorry, how did he beat Kyle Nelson? It wasn't with his distance strikes where he got outlanded by 6 somehow, 22-28. No, the Black Country Banger used his wrestling and had 357 seconds of control time. Are you going to be able to control Ludwig Klein to a decision? No. You're going to get sparked, and it's going to be great. So I parlayed Ludwig Klein and Casey O'Neill because I'm a ballsy bitch. And that's what I did. So follow me if you want.
Amen.
Play them separately if you don't. But Andrew, what do you got? Tell me you're on the Black Country Banger.
This style fight just like isn't one of my strengths. Like over the years, I've kind of just known like what type of fights I have a biggest edge on. Like this one to me just seems like a pretty close striking fight. Like I agree Klein has some more finishing upside, but like I think it probably plays out decently close, where I think Klein's a little bit better, but like I just don't see much of an edge here on him at minus 200 or whatever. But I am picking him to win.
If it means anything at all, he's minus 170 in my parlay.
Yeah, no, I mean if you're, that's half the battle right there. If he's whatever.
Shout out Dan Levy again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hell yeah. I mean, I got that same type of idea. So yeah, I feel pretty good about having at least beat the line movement.
I just was so impressed, and maybe I shouldn't be, with rocking Mason Jones. And Mason Jones is a brawler nut job, but I kind of like Mason Jones as a decent prospect. Not going to touch gold, maybe not even top 15, but like was somebody I thought like kind of deserving of being in there in the UFC on some prelims and whatnot. But obviously outside the UFC at this moment.
Yeah, I think the impressive thing was landing some control on the guy that we thought would be the better wrestler and the better grappler in Mason Jones, at least on paper with all of his accolades.
That's true too.
All right, so next fight we got
the first fight.
This is it, the first fight, the curtain jerker.
The one everybody's been waiting for.
Yeah, Juliana Juju Miller versus Veronica Hardy.
Formerly Macedo.
And Dan Hardy was commentating on her early career.
Dude, I was listening to that. I'm like, I wonder if they knew each other like that yet.
I don't know. But I think ultimately, I mean, if this fight...
It was funny listening to him commentate her getting finished by Jillian Robertson. Like that was a pretty funny experience for me.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, I think Juliana Miller is getting the person that had to take 3 years off of the sport because of post-concussion symptoms. And I mean, listening to her interview back, she couldn't even ride a bike for, extended periods of time without, getting dizzy. And this was like at least a year after her initial, or the multitude of concussions. She thought concussions were only for football players and car accidents or whatever. Like,
not for UFC fighters.
Right. So just poor education overall and just got repetitive head trauma, at a really young age. So, I mean, she's only 1 year older than Juliana Miller.
Yeah, that is crazy.
If Veronica Hardy has truly, over, at least from when she was able to return to training, has even, improved on her skills at all. I mean, she was an all right striker. She was a pretty good grappler.
It doesn't matter. But Juliana Miller is Juliana Miller is like, her big issues are like obvious in that she's wild and reckless and kind of green in the striking, and she's got poor striking defense. But otherwise, the chick is hell on wheels, insane pace, wants to hit you in the mouth, wants to take you down, and is legitimately like, I mean, I think she's one of the, better jiu-jitsu players in all of, female UFC. I mean, she's pretty dang good at those submissions. Maybe I'm great. Maybe you guys want to clip that and put me on MMA dumbest tweets or whatever. But like, I think she's really good.
Well, I think she's relentless.
At jiu-jitsu.
I think she's relentless. I think, with her athleticism and willingness to just fight through being tired, like any fighter is gonna get to that point where they're gonna be tired. It's, do you get gassed or do you fight through it? And I think she's elite with her volume, whether it comes to striking or takedowns and just being violent on the ground. I think it's inside the distance for her once we see that prop drop, and I think under 2.5 at -115 is solid as well.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I like the finish idea. Her one loss to Claire Guthrie was a really, close, suspect kind of fight decision there, and obviously she avenges that loss on Tough. I just I'm
certainly not parlaying her at -435. Like, if Hardy didn't have the medical concerns, I would probably be looking at Hardy's like as a cheeky, maybe she's been working on, but like, knowing what I know now about why she was out, I can't do that.
No, and just know Juliana Miller, like, also kind of like a free spirit, like kind of mental case malcontent. Like, she's somebody that will either be on or won't be, possibly. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how much you can trust her in terms of that, but I do think that she gets it done, and probably by finish as well. And I would feel comfortable with the submission because Veronica Hardy is not good enough on the ground. So, Gombas, Mr. Andrew, please close it out for us.
Yeah, I mean, what could I really say here? Miller's bigger. She's probably going to get on top here and go to work. Hardy coming off a 3-year layoff for concussion issues is just like massive red flags. I mean, she's probably armbar or bust here, really. Like, how does she win outside of an armbar?
Oh, fuck no, she doesn't. Like, there's no way.
And not for nothing, she's going to be, again, done with the UFC, I believe, after this fight. And I have no reason to believe that they're doing Dan Hardy's wife any fucking favors at all. They don't like Dan Hardy. and she's probably stuck in this contract till she finishes it out, whatever she wants to do. Hopefully not combat sports if she's getting a concussion riding a bike. So
yeah, I mean, it's scary.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, not ideal.
Hey.
Dude, thank you so much for coming on, bro. We really, really
Thanks for
appreciate
having
you
me.
coming on. Anytime you would like to join us, you, Magic, especially you, and Magic, anytime, you guys are seriously welcome. And
Cool, I appreciate that.
And yeah, literally, thanks so much for killing it, guys. UFC 286, London, with special start time, right? 1 p.m. Eastern. So be on your P's and Q's. Next week we go to San Antonio for Chito Vera versus Corey Sandhagen. Where do you lean right now, Andrew? On the spot. Where do you lean? Quick. No tape. Sandhagen. Wow. Like it. There it is.
Sick.
Thanks so much for joining us, guys. Share it around. You can follow my awesome co-host, TB Scouting MMA, on Twitter, Verdict, Instagram, and Tapology. Guru Scouting MMA, not the MMA Guru. Twitter, Verdict, Instagram, and Tapology. Take care, and we will see you next week.